Hello crafters, and welcome to day 5 of the Ray's Room summer stitch along for the crochet bag. Today we are going to be joining our squares together. Very exciting. If you have kept up until now, you have done the majority of the crochet, so well done. The hard part's out of the way. Now we're just going to join today. So looking at the joining, let's have a little look at this one that I'm working on. So I'm going to move on to this monochrome and neon that I've been working on. So what you're going to do with your squares is lay them out in the order that you want them. So I've got these ones which haven't been done so far. Just to say, you might be able to see the size difference in these. That's because this one's been done on a 3.5 hook and this one's been done on a 4mm hook. And I'm going to go into more detail about the different options and the different versions that I've made that I've been sharing in another video once the stitch along is finished. So I'll give you some more details on that another time. But if you're wondering why they're such different sizes, yeah, this one's on a 4mm hook and this one's on a 3.5. So you're going to lay your squares out in the position that you want them. So we'll just look at one side of the bag for now. So if you lay them out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 like this. And then once you've got them laid out in the order that you want them in, then you're going to start off with one row and you're going to put them right, so flip them over so that they are right sides facing, so facing each other. So in this, there are actually lots of different ways in which you can join crochet squares. In this pattern, I'm going to show you 2 methods, which I think is quite good to get 2 in, because I do the joining of these squares slightly differently to how I join the 2 sides of the bag all the way around the edges. So it's a good way and a good opportunity for you to get to see 2 different techniques in one pattern. So on the courses that I run, I often go through lots of different ways that you can join. But for the purpose of a quick summer stitch along video, this is going to be a good way for you to get 2 of those in one go. So once you've got all of your squares laid out, you're going to look at one row at a time, and you are going to, for example, start off with 2 squares. So I'm going to go with these 2 to start with. And as you can see, to create this effect, I have been joining with white. So I've done the border of the last, so the last row of the squares in white, and I've been joining them with white, so that the join doesn't stand out. For the purpose of this demo, I'm going to use a different coloured yarn so that you can see exactly what I'm doing. You could choose to join in a different colour if you wanted your join to stand out, so that's absolutely fine. Or if you want it to blend into the colour of the last row of your squares, then you do it in the same colour as the last row of your squares. So to join 2 squares together, we're just going to put them right sides facing. So right sides together, and we're going to be looking along here, this edge here. Just going to grab my needle in case I need that one. So I'm going to show you joining them together. If we were to look at them like this, for this particular pattern, the loops on the stitches that we are going to be working into, if your squares were facing you, it would be the back loop of the top of the stitches. So for example, on this one here, that would be here. And on this one here, that would be here. So both in the same position. But once you've got them right sides facing each other, that will look like this. Just make sure we're in focus. So the ones that we're going to be going under are the closest one to you on this side and the furthest away from you one on that side. Okay, so working into the tops of the stitches, and we're just working under one loop of each. Essentially, it's the back loop of both, but when you've got them right sides facing, that's the one that's closest to you here and the one that is furthest away from you here. Okay, so from here we are going to start joining. As I mentioned, I'm going to be using this pink yarn to join with so that it's easier for you to see what I'm doing. So you're going to put a slip knot onto your hook, like so. And then you're going to grab your 2 squares, get them right sides facing, and we're going to start off in the corner. And we are going to go into, the first one we're going to go into is, so on each corner you've got 2 chains. We are going into the one that's closest to the row that we're going to join along. So we're going to go along this side here. So I'm going to go into this one here and that one there. Okay, so that's where I'm starting in the corner, and we're going to go along here joining with slip stitches. So we're going to slip stitch, so pull the yarn through and through the loop that's on the hook, and then the same again under that one and under that one, and slip stitch it through. And then the same again under that one and under that one, and then hooking that through and slip stitching it. So we're coming through and through the loop that's on our hook. So the same again here and under that one. And the same again here under that one. And we're working our way along, just matching up stitch for stitch on each side. So if you do get a little bit out of sync, don't worry too much. If you're a stitch out, this process is actually quite forgiving. So if you're a stitch out at some point, just make it up by joining twice into the side which you don't have enough stitches on. Because it is really quite forgiving and it won't show at the end. If you were 2, 3, 4 stitches out, I would say you might want to go back and work out what's happened. But if it's just 1 stitch out, then it won't make a massive difference to your finished work. In my experience, it doesn't really make any difference at all if you just make it up and do a little bit of bodge work on that situation. Okay, so we're making our way along with slip stitches all the way along, and obviously if you're doing this in the same color, this is really invisible. You can't see the joins at all really, but I thought it would be good to do it in a color that you can see so that you can see exactly what's happening here. Okay, so I'm almost at the end, so we're going to finish off in the first chain on the corner. So you don't go along both of the chains on the corner, just go into one of the chains on the corner. And then we've got the same happening here. You can see we've got 1 chain left on the corner, but we've crocheted into that one. Okay, so that's 1 or 2 squares joined, so one of your joins done. At that point, you can then fasten that off. So we'll cut that one there, fasten it off, pull it tight, and then open that up. And as you can see, this is how your join is going to look if you've done it in a contrasting colour. But if you've done it in white or the same colour as your borders, you won't see that. It will look like that. Okay, so that's one join done. So now to complete that row, you would just do the exact same thing, but by joining along there. And then you would open that out. And at that point, imagining that that join is together, you're going to flip it over like that. And then do the same thing, starting in this corner and working your way all the way along to this corner here. So that would give you a complete side of your bag once you've done all of those steps on that row, on that row, on that row, and then joined them together along each of the 3 strips. one thing to mention once you have joined your first one would be, if you're finding that it's pulling in quite a bit and making it go a bit like this, then you might want to go up a hook size. So I often find that my work at this point, the way that I crochet with the different stitches, mine comes out, my joins tend to come out really quite tight. So it would, if I was to use the same number hook that I've used to make the squares themselves, to actually join them together, I often end up with a little bit of this kind of going on. So my join is tighter than my squares are, so they can't lay nice and flat. So in that case, this is a perfect time where you would use a different hook. So this is where I would go up to. So I've made these with a 4mm hook, but I'm actually joining them with a 5mm hook. And that is helping them, my joins to come out looser and helping them to lay nice and flat. So once you have completed that, then done that, flip that over and repeated that process throughout, you're going to have one side of your crochet bag complete. Then you're going to do the same with the other side. So you've got another side of your bag completed like this. And then what we're going to do to join the two sides of the bag together is a slightly different method. And these two methods can be used to join crochet squares at any time. I just decided that it would be a nice way to finish this bag off, because the join that we've done on these is relatively bulk free and it lies quite flat. But the join that I'm going to do this time, it gives you a little bit more bulk and a little bit more of a ridge, and it's what I've used to go around the edge of the bag like that, which I feel kind of like frames it a little bit or gives it a little bit of a ridge or a little bit of an edge to the bag. So to do that, instead of right sides facing like we've been joining our squares, we're actually going to put our bag sides back to back this time. So we're doing our join along the outside rather than on the back. So this is the front side of one of my bag sides. So I'm going to turn that over to the back. And then I'm going to get my other side of my bag and put that one back, right side up. So they're back to back. So when we were joining the squares, you want them face to face. When we're joining the two sides of the bag, we want them back to back. Okay, and once you've got all of your squares joined, before you do this bit, you could, at this stage, if you wanted to, block it a little bit. So kind of pin it at these points and at these points and in the corners to get it into place. Give it a bit of an iron. If you're not using acrylic yarn, you could put an iron on it. If you are using acrylic yarn, you could use get it a little bit wet and pin it in place and let it dry. Apply a bit of non-direct heat to it through sort of like a tea towel and an iron or something like that. But again, it's not 100% essential. I haven't done it with this one because that's just the kind of girl I am, really. So back to back bag. So we've got our side. So this is side one. We're going to pretend that this is a completed side two. So the sides of our bag are now back to back. And we're going to start. So if this was the top edge of our bag, we are going to start in this corner here. And we're going to work our way down here and along here to this corner and then back up to here, leaving the top end open, as that's our bag. Okay, so once again, I am going to use a contrasting colour of yarn so that you can clearly see what is happening. I am working into the back loops again, but this time, because the bag is back to back, they are the two closest together. So when we were joining two squares before, the two loops that we were going into were the two that were furthest away from each other on here. But because we're going in the same back loops again, but because our bag is back to back, that now looks like going through the two loops that are closest together. So I'm going to show you that with my needle. I'm just going to pop the needle through so that you can see. So on here, now that we're back to back, we're still going through the back loops, but because they're back to back, we're going under this one and this one. So that's the two that are closest together. Okay, so going under those loops, we're going to start in the same place on the corner again. So in the corners, you've got a chain of 2 in each corner. We are going into the one, we're starting in the one that's closest to the edge that we're going to be going along now. So I'm going to get into that one on this side and into that one on this side, and we're ready to start. So I've got a slip knot on my hook again. Now this time we are joining them together to create that bit of a ridge. We're going to use double crochets to join instead of slip stitches. Okay, so to do a double crochet, we want to pull that one through to start with. We're going to lift it up so we've got 2 loops on our hook, and then we're just going to yarn over and pull through both of the loops that are on our hook. Okay, so now we're going to work our way along. So under that one and under that one, hook the yarn, pull it through to the front, so you've got 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through 2. And then same again, we're going to work our way along, going stitch for stitch, so trying to make sure that those stitches match up. I'm going to go into that one there and into that one there, hook the yarn, pull it through to the front, yarn over and pull through 2. Same again. So same again. Pull through 2, pop your hook into that one, hook into that one, hook the yarn, pull it up, so you've got 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2. So that is working double crochets along the edge, and that is going to give the bag a little bit of a ridge going along like so. And once again, I did this in the same colour as the border and the rest of my joining, so that all of the borders and the joins, the outside of the bag, were all one main colour in the white, so it blends in. But if you wanted to do it in a contrasting colour, then this is how it will look, which is another option as well. So you would work your way all the way along that edge. When you get to your corners, you're just going to do 2 double crochets into that corner and then carry on along. And then when you get to this corner, so you're going to carry on along here, joining your 2 sides. When you get to this corner, you're going to do 2 double crochets into the corner space and then carry on along the edge in the way that I've showed you, with your picking up just the back loops only and 1 double crochet per stitch. And then once you've come, so you will have come along there to that corner, 2 in there, all the way along, 2 in there, back up this edge, and then you're going to finish off here in the first of the chains that you come to in that corner. You're going to do your last double crochet in there, and then you're going to cut it off and fasten off, and then that will be the bag joined. At that stage, you'll have 2 complete sides of your bag joined together to make the main body of your bag. And then at that point, I would sew your ends in. So you could have done it as you went along doing your joins, if you don't like to do it all in one go, or you can do it at this stage. Sew those ends in. So you've got your bag completed. And then at that point, if you wanted to, again, at that stage, you could sort of pin it into shape to kind of get a nice regular square shaped bag. You could use your ironing board and some dressmaking pins just to pin it into shape at that point, into the corners and at the joins.